Oh guys, look at this, the new phone, they made the cameras even bigger and it's a cool blue color now, and look at that, it's totally worth $1,100. Or is it? Because what if I told you that you could get a fully functioning iPhone with iOS 15 for $69? Would you think I'm crazy? No, probably not, because I did, and here it is. Ta-da! This is the iPhone 6s. It's the oldest and probably the cheapest iPhone that is actually still supported by Apple officially under iOS 15. That's a long time to support a phone. This thing came out 6 years ago, and by the time iOS 15 is superseded by iOS 16, and this thing is presumably dropped, that'll be 7 full years of software support for a phone. That's bananas. So what I wanted to find out is, given that these phones are so cheap, are they actually usable? Now, to answer the question, is it usable? The answer is obviously yes, right? Because if Apple was still supporting it, then it's got to be usable to at least some degree, or at the very least, there are enough people that do use these phones to justify giving them official software support. Because it's not easy to support phones for 7 years. I mean, nobody else in the smartphone market is doing that, and it's not without reason. Remember that whole little thing where Apple had to pay $500 million after they admitted to slowing down older iPhones, such as the iPhone 6s? This is one of the issues that comes with offering such long-term support for phones like this. In many cases, if it was an Android smartphone, the phone would just not have gotten software updates at all, and then it might not have been as big of an issue. Now, I'm not defending Apple's use of secretive battery preservation techniques through performance throttling, but if this were an Android phone, would it even have mattered? That's a question that I pose to you. Do you think it would? Let me know in the comments below. But whatever the storied past for this phone may be, the long and the short of it is, if you have one of these or want to buy one of these, they are still officially supported after 6 years. That's really, really insane. And as I mentioned, by the time iOS 16 comes out, this will be a 7-year-old phone. And it makes you wonder, why are they still supporting this thing? Well, to be honest, I think the primary reason is because there are a lot of people who continue to use the iPhone 6s for a number of reasons. Number one, the older design. A lot of people are diehards of the home button, Touch ID. They don't want anything to do with Face ID. And let's be honest, there are a lot of people that have stuck with the iPhone 6s for one very important reason: the headphone jack. And also, let's face facts. A lot of iPhone users tend to be somewhat traditional as far as smartphones go. If you want wild, crazy experimentation, Android phones have a lot of that. But iPhone users tend to be more frustrated when Apple forces changes upon them. So it's not exactly surprising that a lot of people continue to use the 6s that they've had for several years now. But this video is about something a little bit different, and that is, should you actually buy one? If you don't have an iPhone right now and you want to get into one as cheap as possible, this is your best bet, because you can get iOS 15 for under $100. Now, this particular iPhone, I got pretty lucky on. $69. It's got 96% battery capacity, it's got 64 gigabytes, and it's in really good condition. Now, I have to say, I'm a little bit suspicious about how good of condition this is in. I suspect that the casing may have been replaced at some point, because it's just a little bit unusual for there to be a phone this old and this pristine. But whatever the case may be, honestly, doesn't really affect me. It's just a little piece of metal that's painted vaguely pink, so I don't really care if someone replaced that, or replaced the screen, or replaced the battery, or whatever. It's a working phone for $69. That is pretty incredible. I am genuinely staggered at how not old this phone feels. I don't want to say that it feels snappy or fluid, you know, those buzzwords that people like to use all the time. It's not. It's a 6-year-old phone, but it doesn't feel completely, antique. That is no small feat. That doesn't just speak to how good Apple's chips have become, not just in recent years, but several years ago. It also speaks to how much work actually goes into optimizing iOS. Keep in mind, iOS is being developed for the majority of iPhone users that are on much more recent devices, A13, 14, 15. This has an A9 chip, and it's nowhere near as advanced as what we have now. Since the A11, Apple has been using a big little chip architecture. Basically, it's a 6-core design with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores that can dynamically switch and alter their workload. Basically, if you're just scrolling through Twitter, you can be using efficiency cores and preserving battery life, but if you need to do something more demanding like a 3D mobile game, the performance cores can kick in and deliver that smooth performance. This is something that we've come to take for granted over the last 4 years, but that wasn't around when this phone came out. The A9 chip is a Paltry dual core, and if you look at Geekbench comparisons, you can see that it doesn't exactly stack up well against its modern counterparts, and yet, iOS 15 runs surprisingly well, at least most of the time. If you use this thing for a little while, or you start to push it with, Apple CarPlay, Maps, even installing a software update, then it gets really hot. You can tell that the processor is right over here because this part becomes quite toasty. And when that starts to happen, the battery starts siphoning off juice like crazy. The A9 is clearly working overtime and it's giving off a lot of heat energy, so it just absolutely munches through the battery that's in this thing, which isn't exactly surprising. I mean, this is from sort of a bygone era, right? The iPhone 6 was a very long-lasting design, but it was of a time where people wanted their phones to be thin and light. That is something that isn't really a priority for Apple anymore. The past 3 generations of iPhones have been thicker than the ones before them, and nobody really seems to give a damn. I mean, I've got an iPhone 13 Pro Max. This thing is an absolute unit. I mean, look at them side by side, right? Not only is it obviously larger, but look at the side profile. It's unbelievable how much additional thickness has returned to the iPhone, and that's not a bad thing. I like a chunky phone because, first of all, it feels heavy and solid and robust, but also I get really freaking good battery life. Even when the iPhone 6S was new, the battery life was not anything really to write home about. This wasn't ever a device that was going to be testing with 10 hours of screen time, even when it was brand new straight out of the factory. That being said though, I charged this thing up to 100%, I'm now at 80%, and that's with about 40 minutes of screen time. If you're gonna buy a $69 iPhone, you probably wanna buy a $19 battery bank to go with it, because if you're anywhere that's gonna be remotely far from an outlet for any amount of time, you're gonna want some backup options. But apart from the battery, I have to say, there's really not a lot to complain about with this phone. There's nothing really exciting. There's not a lot of flashy features, apart from 3D Touch, which I miss, by the way. But this phone really doesn't feel that stripped down and lacking. I went for a walk today as I was using it and took some photos along the way, and I have to say, obviously, these are taken in broad daylight and they're not exactly the most demanding situations that you could put a phone camera in, but this thing holds up pretty well. Now, yes, it is a single lens on the back. It's kind of funny how this used to be the camera bumps that we complained about, this tiny little thing, where now we're dealing with the likes of the 13 Pro and Pro Max. It's a little bit silly how fast things have changed on that front, but honestly, I don't really have much to complain about. It's a perfectly usable camera. The phone connects to your car via CarPlay, although granted, it gets really hot when you do that. It has all of the Bluetooth and Find My and iMessage and handoff things that you would want from a device in the Apple ecosystem. It's a great way to get into it for under $100. I just can't get over that. You're getting a full iPhone with iOS 15 for $70. There are a bunch of use cases I can think of for a phone like this. Number one, if you have elderly parents, maybe you want to give them a phone that's cheap and simple but allows you to find them on the Find My network. Maybe you want to give this to your kids for similar reasons, and also because frankly it's really cheap and who cares if they break it. Maybe you have an older sound system and you need something with a headphone jack to put Spotify on, and then this could basically be like an iPod. Maybe you have an older car with an aux jack and no Bluetooth, for, again, the same reason, the headphone jack. With 64 gigabytes like this iPhone, you could fit most of your music library offline, and it would be perfect for when you're on the move. And some of those uses don't even require you to have a SIM card in this thing. It can be basically an offline or Wi-Fi only little iOS device, and I think it functions in that role pretty well. And the same could even apply if you have an older iPhone 6S. Don't throw it away, don't sell it, maybe you can use it. It always makes me sad when functional electronics are put to waste. And a lot of iPhone 6Ss at this point have been put to waste. Not just ones that are broken, but ones that are iCloud locked, where people just forgot to sign out of iCloud, oops, and now the phone is completely useless. Not to mention people that literally just don't know what to do with this, so they throw it in the trash. There are so many uses for old technology, even stuff much older and more obsolete than this iPhone 6S. So the iPhone 6S, is it still usable in 2021? Well, surprisingly, yeah. It definitely is, and probably will continue to be even in years to come. Old iPhones have uses even beyond their OS support, and it's definitely worth looking into. So that's going to do it for today's video. As usual, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.